In this video, we take a brief look at the RTX 2070, 2080 and 2080 Ti series of Nvidia graphics cards. Let's get started. Since around 2016, we've all been content knowing that the 10 series, or Pascal as it's known, was the best of the best, giving us unparalleled FPS in all our favourite games. And for some it still delivers, like me. But for those that have been waiting for something new and improved, finally there is light at the end of the tunnel. Enter the Turing GPU, with up to 6 times faster performance than Pascal lineup, according to Nvidia anyway, where its main focus has now moved on to bigger and brighter things. To be precise, ray tracing. And if you don't know what ray tracing is, I'll post a link in the video description down below, so you can go and find out for yourself. You may think that's not that big of a deal. Well, I have to say, from what I've seen, you couldn't be further from the truth. Okay, so picture this. For example, an in-game cutscene. I'm sure you've seen plenty of these. I imagine most of you have seen these, right? Well, did you know that most of what you've seen in the past was pre-rendered and played back as a video? Now imagine the same video, but in real time. All that lighting and diffusion, reflections, but now all part of your actual gameplay experience. Nvidia say they have been working on Turing for the last 10 years, which means they were already working on this before Pascal, the 10 series cards, were ever made public. Mind is blown. It makes you wonder what's coming next. Okay, so let's get down to the details of the Founders Edition RTX graphics cards, starting with the RTX 2070. Founders cards look to be shipped overclocked with a 1700 MHz boost clock compared to the 1070 shipping with just 1683 boost. It also comes with 8GB of GDDR6 with a memory speed of 14 gigabits per second compared to 8GB GDDR5 and 8 gigabits per second on the previous 1070. The only difference between the Founders Edition and the reference design is the clock boost, with one interesting exception. We can see a 10 watt difference between the Founders and reference design. Now, I'm no expert, but this could mean we could see better overclocking from adding board partners on this card. No NVLink is described here, so it looks like the 2070 owners won't be able to use the old school SLI approach here. The good news is that Nvidia still recommend a 550 watt power supply for the RTX 2070, which is still the same as ARB partner cards of the 10 series GPUs. The Founders Edition card is currently on the Nvidia website for £569, but as yet there is no pre-ordering or release dates for this card. For the RTX 2080 Founders Edition, we can see that the boost clock is again increased as we would expect from an 80, this time up to 1800 MHz, and again pre-overclocked by Nvidia. Again with 8GB of GDDR6 with a speed of 14 gigabits per second, compared to the GTX 1080's 1733 MHz with 8GB GDDR5X running at 10 gigabits per second. When viewing the full specs of the Founders Edition versus reference design, they both benefit from the same amount of CUDA cores, 2944, but again, there is a difference in the amount of watts each card requires. We see that the Founders Edition card on the left needs 255 watts compared to the reference design only needing 215. Both cards require at least 650 watt PSU, but the Founders Edition needing a 6-pin and an 8-pin connector for supplementary power. The RTX 2080 is currently at 749 on the Nvidia site, and they are taking pre-orders now, and there is a 2-card limit per customer. For the RTX 2080 Ti Founders Edition, Here we see that the Founders Edition cards will be shipped with a boost clock of 1635 MHz and 11 gig of GDDR6, ran again at 14 gigabits per second when compared to the 1080 Ti of 1582 MHz boost clock and 11 gigs of GDDR5 at 11 gigabits per second. It's interesting to see that the boost clock is actually lower than the non-Ti RTX 2080. When looking at the full specs of the 2080 Ti versus the reference design board that they will send out to AIB partners, we see that CUDA cores are the same at 4352 on both Founders of reference design, with the only main difference being once again that the boost clock is a little bit higher on the Founders Edition card. And again, the power usage we see on the 2080 Ti Founders Edition requires 260 watts compared to the reference board needing only 250 watts. Both recommend at least a 650 watt power supply and dual 8-pin supplementary power connectors. The RTX 2080 Ti will cost you a whopping £1,099 and is available for pre-order from the Nvidia website now. And again, there is a 2 card per customer limit. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the specs of the RTX cards, so let's take a quick look at the shroud. They've finally moved away from the blower design, and from what Nvidia say at launch, it's extremely quiet compared to 10 series cards. We can't know for sure as we don't have one, but the bigger fan size does suggest that fans will indeed spin slower and push more air through the fins connected to the thermal solution's heat pipes. It does now mean that you may need to consider that the hot air will mostly go inside your case and not out of the back of the card as previous Founders Edition cards were designed. I think it's a good move from Nvidia, but only time and testing will know how good the shroud really is. Okay, so on to NVLink. This allows you to connect more than one card together, similar to SLI, but it's a completely different thing. So NVLink is a new bridge which Nvidia is saying that is 50% faster than the high bandwidth bridge that we currently use to connect in SLI. We could expect speeds from 25 gigabits per second up to 300 gigabits per second potentially. The NVLink's design matches that of the Founders Edition design itself, which is good because it would look silly if it wasn't designed in the same way, with the shiny silver and the black in the middle of the bridge connectors. Nvidia have the NVLink bridge on their website now, and you can pre-order this for £75.99 for a 3 or 4 slot size. So Nvidia have raised the bar yet again, and it seems that ray tracing is the next evolution. With all this hype around the new Turing GPU architecture, it's now just a matter of time for the rest of the industry to catch up and open up their new software to the riches we can expect from the 20 series GPUs. So, should you go out and order one? Well, yeah, sure, why not? If you have the money and you're looking to upgrade, then now is the perfect time. However, no one knows what kind of real-world performance we can expect from these GPUs. Apart from those at the Nvidia launch themselves, they had test machines with them inside and you could play the games on them. So apart from those people, none of us lot know what we can expect from them as yet. I'm sure other reviewers will post their findings on those very soon. So okay, Will.N.Dad, what if you already have a 1070, 1080 or a Ti? Well, my advice would be to hold off for now, at least until the cards have been tested by the press using real-world benchmarks. At least real-world benchmarks that you can trust. We don't yet know how this is going to compare, and given that this is a whole new GPU design, current benchmarking may not be the best way to test in the future. Games that are specifically made for support for ray tracing on the Turing GPU will see far greater benefits than anything we have now. So it may be a case of 2 types of tests for these cards. Only time will tell. Until we get one, we don't know. That about wraps up our look at the Nvidia RTX series of GPUs. Don't forget to click the like button if you like this video, and if you want to see more great content, maybe click that subscribe button too. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. I can't wait to get hold of an RTX graphics card.